So this is the scene live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where any moment now President Biden's going to announce a major $2.3 billion infrastructure plan, trillion-dollar infrastructure plan, aimed at reinvigorating towns and cities across America. The White House says it's the most ambitious project in decades and that it's necessary in order for America to stay competitive.
Republicans say that Mr. Biden's plan to raise corporate taxes to pay for it is a recipe for stagnation and decline. So the battle lines then are drawn. Political watchers are bracing for a tough fight to get the bill through Congress, although it would appear the bill will now be split into two parts to try and ease its passage through the Senate. Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, before we get to the politics, let's take a look at the bricks and mortar of the issue, because the fact is that America has fallen really far behind. According to the World Economic Forum, the US has slipped from 5th to 13th when its infrastructure is compared globally. That puts it behind Singapore, Japan, many European countries. And it's not just America's roads and airports that are falling short. Broadband service here is both more expensive and slower than in many other countries, which is not a great combination. The average price of an internet connection here is more than $61 a month, which ranks 28th amongst the countries that were surveyed.
And Americans don't get much bang for their buck when it comes to internet speeds. The US ranks 12th in the world. So let's go then to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that has the unenviable accolade of being the worst city in the United States when it comes to infrastructure. Mayor Eric Papenfuse is with us. There he is, sitting in front of the city flag. I think that's what it is. Mayor, good to have you with us. I'm sure Harrisburg is a very lovely place, but we're talking about infrastructure and the problems. Now, I don't know a mayor anywhere in the world that would turn down money. So put for me on a scale, this money that's coming, is it 1, I'll rip your arm off, I really, really need it, or is it 10, put it in the bank, it'll be nice to have? Where are you on the scale?
Oh, we desperately need it. And it's really essential for cities like Harrisburg because it represents a historic investment in infrastructure that we really haven't seen now for generations. In fact, we've had a disinvestment in many towns and cities like Harrisburg. At its core, I would say this is a matter of racial equity as well. I live in a majority African-American and Hispanic city, but 100 years ago, when much of our infrastructure was being built, those demographics were very different. And our population today is half of what it was then. And we've seen the hollowing out of cities through suburbanization and other processes. And we need this type of collective reinvestment if we're going to solve these major problems which affect the quality of life for people that are living in places like Harrisburg.
Obviously, the price tag is the sticking point. When you talk to your constituents there in Harrisburg, are they prepared to pay more in taxes, perhaps more in prices as it is passed on to them for the benefit of faster broadband, better bridges, better roads?
Absolutely. And let me make the case for why it matters to all of your listeners today. In Harrisburg, every time it rains, we have a combined sewer and stormwater system. We have runoff that goes into the Susquehanna River and then pollutes the Chesapeake Bay, which then pollutes the Atlantic Ocean. And the only way we can fix that is through hundreds of millions of dollars in repairs to this 100-year-old combined system. And that is a price tag which simply cannot be borne by just the residents of Harrisburg. And the benefit is shared regionally, if not globally. So we need these type of bold solutions if we're gonna solve fundamental problems that affect our economy and our environment.
Mayor, you mentioned racial inequity, and we've spent a lot of the last year talking about racial inequity. We've spent a lot of this program talking about racial inequity in another context in the program. I think it's only about a quarter of Harrisburg's population that actually are white residents, but time and again in American cities, minority residents, people get the worst end of the deal. Is there something about this particular infrastructure proposal of President Biden's that you think could go some way to changing the racial inequalities in America, in your town?
Absolutely, and I think that was the point that I was trying to make, which is that we're a relatively small, impoverished city that has half the population that it once had, and which is now predominantly African American, which wasn't the case a century ago when our roads were being built, our sewers were being put in. We have this aging architecture and infrastructure, but the costs of maintaining that are enormous. And so we have to look at collective solutions. We have to look more broadly than the small, narrow geographic boundaries of any one city. I think that's what's so brilliant and important about President Biden's infrastructure plans. It's looking to address this problem. We have these racial inequities in a way which is solution focused and is going to bring to bear the resources of an entire nation to assist all of us.
I mean, it's being described as one of the biggest shake-ups of American society since FDR, really. Do you think it has the potential to really transform the country?
I do. And let me tell you about the types of price tags. So we have about a $100 million budget in Harrisburg, but it might take $400 million to fix the stormwater issue that I mentioned, or it's going to take $200 million just to pave our crumbling roads. It would take $50 million just to take down a lot of our aging housing stock, which has already been condemned. These numbers are enormous compared to what our taxpayers can basically afford. We're fortunate we have a balanced budget. We can take in enough revenue to cover our expenses, but these types of infrastructure investments, which again benefit everyone. Harrisburg is the sort of cultural and economic hub of a region, but these types of improvements cannot be just simply borne on the backs of our residents alone.
Okay. Mayor Papenfuse from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, thank you very much for joining the program. So interesting to hear what this would mean to one town on the ground. Thanks, Mayor.